Tunde had never been to Lagos before. The noise, the traffic, the sheer size of everything overwhelmed him. Ifeoma, though nervous, handled it like she was born for it. The pitch event was held in a sleek conference centre on Victoria Island. Young entrepreneurs in suits and smart anchor outfits buzzed around them, handing out business cards and practicing their pitches. They were allocated just 5 minutes to present. Ifeoma led the pitch with confidence, supported by a slideshow Tunde had helped compile. He stepped in to talk about production and community impact. Together, they explained how Golden Empire Foods had grown from a N650 roadside hustle to a community-serving, school-feeding, mini-mart supplying startup. When they stepped off the stage, applause followed. One judge leaned into the mic and said, "Passion meets purpose. You two are fire." They didn't know if they'd win, but they knew they had made an impression. That night, standing on the hotel balcony overlooking the lights of Lagos, Tunde looked at Ifeoma. "Even if we don't get the grant, I'd still do this all over again, with you." She smiled. "We're already winning." They returned to Abeokuta and threw themselves back into work, nervously waiting for news. 2 weeks later, the call came. Ifeoma picked up. Her face turned pale, then lit up like a sunrise. "We got it," she whispered. "N500,000. Tunde let out a roar, hugging her so tightly she lost her breath. They danced around the backyard, his siblings cheering, his mother wiping tears from her eyes. With the grant, they rented a small shop near the bus terminal, prime location. They painted the walls gold and white, installed a proper fryer and signage, and hired 2 permanent staff. Customers poured in. Their dream had moved from the street to a storefront, from hustle to enterprise, from vision to reality. But not everyone was pleased. Local vendors who had once tolerated Tunde's roadside stand now saw him as a threat. Rumours spread that they used foreign oil, that they were cheating suppliers, that they had rich sponsors. One afternoon, a group of older traders confronted Tunde at his shop, accusing him of price manipulation. The altercation got heated, and someone threw a bag of chips to the ground. Tunde stood his ground but was rattled. Ifeoma advised diplomacy. They arranged a town hall with local traders, explained their mission, and offered to run free business workshops for younger vendors. Slowly, tension eased. Some even became allies. It was a hard lesson. Growth brings resistance, but it also brings the chance to lead with kindness. With their storefront now thriving, Ifeoma began redesigning the packaging for their chips. She wanted a cleaner look, something that could compete on supermarket shelves. They agreed on a cream and gold motif with an illustrated logo, a golden cassava root wrapped in a crown. Late one evening, after finishing the design, Tunde turned to her. "You always make things better, even me." She chuckled. "You've always had the fire, I just helped direct it." There was a pause. Then Tunde leaned closer. "I don't want to build this empire without telling you how I feel. I love you, Ifeoma. I think I have for a long time." For a moment, she looked stunned. Then she smiled and whispered, "I love you too, Tunde." It was gentle and certain, like the roots of a tree that had always been growing underneath. They began speaking at local schools about youth entrepreneurship. Students saw them as living proof that brilliance and business weren't just for adults in suits. They shared stories of frying cassava after school, burning first batches, dealing with family opposition, and learning through failure. At one school, a shy girl asked, "What if no one believes in your dream?" Tunde answered, "Then be the first person who does." Their fame spread beyond Abeokuta. A regional radio station featured their journey. Calls came from neighbouring towns asking for supplies. Ifeoma had to map logistics and decide which towns they could serve sustainably. "Let's not grow too fast and collapse," she warned. Tunde agreed. They realised success wasn't just about money, it was about impact, endurance and heart. Ifeoma's father had grown quieter about the business. One Sunday, he asked to visit the shop. They gave him a tour, explained the numbers, and introduced the staff. He said little, only nodding. Later, he pulled Ifeoma aside. "You've built something strong. Just promise me you'll still chase your degree." "I will, Dad, but maybe not immediately. Let me ride this wave while it lasts." He gave a small smile. "Make sure you don't drown in it." Meanwhile, an investor approached them through the Business Showcase network. She offered N2 million in exchange for 30% ownership. The offer was tempting, but risky. Tunde and Ifeoma debated for days. Money could take them national, but giving up control so early, dangerous. In the end, they politely declined. "We want to grow slower but smarter." The investor respected their decision. "You two remind me of myself at your age. Keep your vision sharp." Just as things seemed stable, disaster struck. A fire broke out at the back of their shop one night. No one was hurt, but the damage to their storage room and one fryer was significant. It took 3 days to assess the loss and another week to reopen. They discovered the fire was caused by an old gas connector. Ifeoma was furious with herself for not replacing it earlier. Tunde calmed her. "You saved us 10 times before. Now we save each other." They used part of their savings to repair the space and finally installed safety measures. They created a new system, monthly safety audits, inventory checks, and a rotating staff training schedule. The setback shook them, but it also taught them the importance of resilience. What could have ended their dream became the reason they strengthened it. To celebrate their recovery, they launched a new line, sweet cassava chips with honey and cinnamon, inspired by a snack Ifeoma's grandmother used to make. It was an instant hit, especially with kids and women. Orders doubled in 2 weeks. They called it Ife's Delight. Tunde joked, "I knew you'd be the sweet one." They also started experimenting with plantain chips, chin-chin, and dried fruit packs. Ifeoma introduced eco-friendly packaging, and they ran a promo where customers could return used bags for discounts. The business had moved beyond survival. It was now about innovation, culture, and impact. They weren't just selling food, they were telling a story. The end of their final school term approached. WAEC exams loomed. Amid the chaos of running a business, they still found time to study, usually in the shop after hours, with books spread across the counter. After the last exam, Ifeoma looked at Tunde. "We're really done with school," he nodded, "but just starting with life." She received admission to study Business and Development Studies at the University of Ibadan. Tunde didn't apply. He wanted a gap year to focus on the company. They had a long talk about distance and dreams. In the end, they decided not to force anything. "We're partners first," Tunde said, "in life and in business." She kissed his cheek. "Then this is just a new chapter, not the end." University life swept Ifeoma into a new world of lectures, group projects, and hostel drama. Still, every weekend she called Tunde, often while sitting outside her dorm with a notebook full of ideas. Tunde expanded operations in Abeokuta. He recruited 2 new team leads and trained them to oversee the shop and satellite kiosks in nearby towns. One was located near a busy motor park in Ilaro, another in a school district in Sagamu. Sales boomed. They missed each other, but in a way the distance strengthened their bond. They learned to communicate deeply, trust each other's judgment, and give space for growth. On her first visit home, Ifeoma walked into the shop and gasped. It had been repainted with new shelves, a staff bulletin board, and a suggestion box. "You turned it into a real company," she said. "No," Tunde replied. "We did." By the end of the year, Golden Empire Foods had become a local household name. They supplied 6 schools, 3 mini-marts, and ran 4 kiosks. They were featured in a documentary about youth-led businesses on Nigerian television. Their product line had expanded to 7 items, all affordable, locally sourced, and carefully branded. They hired a full-time operations manager, freeing Tunde to begin part-time online business courses. One of their proudest moments came when they launched a small fund to help secondary school students start their own hustles. They called it Roots to Rise, paying forward the opportunity that had started their journey. Their old frying station still stood in Tunde's backyard, now unused but preserved. It had become a symbol, a monument to their beginnings. After her first year at university, Ifeoma returned for an extended break. She and Tunde visited their old school to donate free snacks for the entire student body. The principal welcomed them like royalty. They walked the hallways hand in hand, reminiscing about tests, punishments, and sneaking glances at each other during morning assembly. "I still remember that first day," Tunde said. "You walked up to me like you owned the world." "I just saw something worth building," she replied. They returned to their tree, now taller, stronger, and shaded in golden light. There, Tunde brought out a small bracelet with a chip-shaped charm. "It's not a ring," he said, grinning, "but it's our story." She slipped it on. "Best empire I ever helped build." Years later, Golden Empire Foods became a major brand in southwestern Nigeria, known not only for its snacks, but its community programs. Tunde and Ifeoma opened a food entrepreneurship academy for teens. They remained partners in life and work, sometimes arguing over flavors or staffing, but always finding their way back to their shared vision. One morning, as they stood outside their new factory watching workers arrive, Ifeoma turned to Tunde. "Remember when you just wanted to pay school fees?" He laughed. "I only wanted 3,000 naira a term." They looked at the sunrise. Money came, love grew, fulfillment followed, and from fried cassava, a golden empire rose. The end.